So we're here in Glenview. Another client has called in the Rehab Depot to rescue their rehab. It's too unfortunate about the quality of work and the way contractors are ripping people off left and right. As a former contractor, I'm the guy now that's going to come to you on your side of the table and say, we're going to look at this together, because it's time that somebody start telling these investors how contracting actually works, and that's what we're here to do. So, point in case, we have a porch here, and as you can see, these 1x3s are brand new, right? The idea here is they had these regular balusters that look like a deck. Wasn't very attractive, not for this type of neighborhood. If you see to the side, you'll see this nice custom home over there. Clearly, this front end has to look really nice. With that said, one of the concepts that we came up with was to put these 1x3s in on this level for some shade. It's not like a lattice. Lattices are very, very dated. They come in vinyl or wood, but we didn't want a lattice look. We wanted something that had more like a slate, which is nice. So we also ran them horizontally this way. Now, when I say we, I always think like a contractor. I didn't do the work, and my teams didn't do the work. We had a contractor that we looked at together, the client and I, and we decided that he was going to be a good choice for this project. So we asked him to come up with this solution. Our client provided a picture for comparables, and I told the GC how I think the vision should go horizontally versus vertically. We collaborated very well. That's part of how we operate as consultants. With that said, we're going to go this way a little bit. What we have here, essentially, is a lot of open land. What happened here is we cut down trees and bushes, and we already followed the original landscape line. And what we realized is that we can keep this footprint because it's a very large footprint, but we didn't need the bushes. We want to expose the front of the house now. We're going to change the shutters. We're going to paint a lot of things white. The front door is going to be a more of a wine Merlot type color. It's going to be really rich. It's going to be really nice. It'll play off the brick. So some of the things the client and I were doing is we were kind of working together for the overall design of the property. We came up with a nice tone of some reds, some burgundies, and some whites. We're going to clean up a lot of this cream because it's a little old. And we're going to try to play off the brick. The brick is old, but it's original. It looks beautiful. It's in great condition. We did rip out all these bushes and trees, and what we're doing is we're going to do a big section of brown mulch. I realized these guys left all of their drywall screw nails on the porch. They actually were used from before, and I could tell they took these out of the original balusters. And as you can see, you can't have that. That's unacceptable. It's not safe. It's an insurance claim. The neighbor's kids could come over here and get hurt. This is completely unacceptable. So as my client, what I did is I took a bunch of pictures. I texted those to her, and I advised her, hey, this is what you need to say to your GC because this is unacceptable for a multitude of reasons. She acknowledged it. She said thank you, and she now put us on a group text addressing this issue. What we do is we give you the confidence to address issues this way because leverage is the key. And to have leverage, you have to have experience or knowledge, and that's why we're going to give that to you. But these kind of things need to be caught. Sometimes investors don't know what to say, so they leave it, and then something bad will happen. And at the end of the day, if this comes out and gets a kid, you lost everything. Let's talk about this deck real quick. This deck was just rebuilt by our client's new GC. Why we did that is because the original GC half-assed the whole thing. It wasn't going to meet code, and it definitely structurally wasn't safe. So some of the things we found was that the joists on the very end, they were uneven. We also found that the beams that they're using that are tied into the footers were 1000% crooked, and what was causing an issue was the deck was coming forward about 2 or 3 degrees. Now to the naked eye, 2 or 3 degrees is not a huge deal, but at the end of the day, what happens is you're gonna have a lot of water runoff, you're gonna have a lot of erosion, you're gonna set yourself up for quicker mold faster because at the end of the day, this is a deck, we're in Chicago and the season's here. So let's take a look at this. Another issue we ran into originally was that the balusters were flipped inside out, meaning that all of these are on the face. That's the decorative complete side. They had those flipped on the inside, which I didn't understand. So what they had was these 2x4s exposed to everybody else, which makes it look unfinished and professional. They obviously never built decks before, so it was a clear sign that they were way in over their heads. So we made a decision to terminate that GC together with the client. We brought in a new GC to come in here, put the new balusters in, rebuild the entire deck. They had to take the entire top deck board off, and they built all these railings from 4x4s and 1x6s. So a couple other things I want to talk about. We showed you some things on the outside. We showed you some things on the side. In the back, we showed you the deck. Some of the things as an investor that you want to do is you want to give your contractor every tool for success. Part of that is these. We've always, even as contractors in the past, we always created these file folders. In them is significant information because it is construction. You want to make sure that you're going to give your GC every chance possible to succeed, right? If they succeed, you succeed, right? You got to create the win-win, which means you've got to be a little more diligent, take some time and do things for yourself. A nice trick that we do is we put all the scopes of work that have been initialed by the GC in a folder, and we put that on the job site folder. We also have the schedule that the GC fills out, not us, right? He's in control of his destiny. We put that in there. He initialed every single page on that. And then we also include the contract. Why? Because the contract, at least our contracts, will basically signify when the project starts, when the project ends. It also talks about what the budget is, what the agreed upon budget is between contractor and investor. And it talks about some of the potential draw dates based on milestones that correspond with the schedule. So we always created these, and now we advise our clients when we're consulting to create these. We ask that this stays in the project every single day, all day. This never leaves the house, so I'm very happy to see that it was here. I mean, it's dirty as hell, but that means things are going down here. But my point is, this is so significant so that it's easy reference. I walk 1 million homes a day. I walk 1 million homes a week, right? I have clients that have different finishes, different designs, and I'd be lying to you if I told you I could remember all of it, because I can't. It's just way too much going on. So if I need a question, or they have a question for me, or the client wants to refresh, I can easily say, you know what, where's the folder? Let's take a look at it right here, right now. Why? We want to save time. It's like medicine. Construction is like medicine. You can't stop when you're in the middle of surgery with a patient and go find an answer. You have a team, and your team should be able to, within all of them, come up with an answer and a solution then and now. As your consultant, right, and as our teams of consultants, we are basically part of your team. We're kind of looking out for you over your shoulder for things like this. So these are extra tools that at the Rehab Depot we give out, because this is very, very significant. I also like to see the fact that this folder was right next to the blueprints. That helps, because you can actually go back and forth to make sure, because you do want to quality check all your paperwork, and you want to also quality check the overall vision. It may change based on weather. It may change based on season. It may change based on time frame and finishes. So keep that in mind. But most significantly, in my opinion, most importantly, you want to make sure that you give your contractor every opportunity to succeed, because together you will win. You want your return. They want to make money and have a good client. It's got to be very cohesive. This does not cost much money, but some printer paperwork and a folder just to supply this for your GC. Always making sure the blueprints are here are very significant. It's also kind of funny. If you ever want to know what your GC is thinking or planning, just look at the last page they left it on. That's where it's going to tell you your mindset, right? So I'm looking at this right now, and I think it's funny because what I just said is true. They're looking at the deck. Well, we just showed you the deck earlier, and they just finished the deck, which means that's good. That's a sign that your GC is actually reading the prints and doing this. And at the same time, you can start looking at these little things that talks about elevations. You could grab a measuring tape right now and measure and see if this deck is 18 feet by 4 inches. It's there for you to look at. This isn't rocket science. It tells you that your railing system needs to be 3 feet and that your footings in the bottom has to be at least 2 feet off the ground. So, all right. Yeah, exactly. So I'm taking a look at it right now, and what I see is that the 2x6s are sistered, and they're on the support beams. And I'm just looking at the underall quality. They did fine. In this scenario, they didn't do any joist hangers, which is fine. I mean, no one says you have to. They're just there for extra support. But I'll let you take a look at that. And what you're going to notice is that it's all brand new decking, and those beams, as well as the footings, as well as some of the joists, are going to be treated lumber, because there's a huge case, obviously, for mold and moisture to build up. So very key. I'm glad I did this. It's not always an option to be able to get this close underneath the deck without literally going underneath the deck. So we were able to look at one of our windows we're going to replace and take a look at what the quality and craftsmanship underneath looks like. So little tricks of the trade. If you have the opportunity to do something like that, then just do it. This client is doing a really good job when it comes to being prepared, talking, engaging, asking questions of her contractor. And really, we're really teaching her how to be like a project manager, but understanding how to deal with contracting when you've never done such a thing, which most people haven't. But also what to look for. We're going to keep this going. So we got a few weeks before this project should be done, according to her GC, and we're going to see if we can keep them up to that. So stay tuned, because we will show you a finished product of this rescue. So just to recap that last property, obviously we were called in to consult it, but there's so much more to the consulting than meets the eye. Not only did we help her and continue to help her with the construction side of things, but we had to do some forensic analysis of that those numbers, because the acquisition price was wrong. The comps were provided in the wrong neighborhood. And so after all, the rehab numbers made it seem higher. So let's go through that. What do I mean? So the ARV that they were told at the time, I believe, was in the 400s. Their budget for rehab was about $100,000 to $101,000 on that little house. The irony of this was that I had already looked at this property and bid it out for a consultant client back in, I think, the beginning of the spring this year. And I had bid it at $46,000 because, in my opinion, the house was really good, the mechanicals were good, so all you needed to do was more of a cosmetic rehab, which gets overlooked often. So what happened was the numbers were way off. It was bought way off, and they over-rehabbed the property. I came in, I went through the numbers, I saved her $17,000 on the rehab that she could put back in her pocket through draws. We reallocated the line items, resubmitted those to the lender, and then we also made sure that we found a new contractor that could do the job for way less than what the contract originally was for, because the house didn't need $100,000 worth of work. It probably needs about 75, and that's a good number. And we did get a contractor that we can take that price for that number. I'll take that job for that number. I apologize, but at the end of the day, the numbers were wrong. I brought in a team, a specialist. His name was Mike with Keller Williams, and basically Mike gave her an analysis breakdown and said, "Look, at best, you're going to sell this house for $365,000, and her loan was for $400,000, so she will owe when she goes to the closing table." That's bad. She called me in too late, but it's okay. I'm here, and we're going to fix this for the next one. She's ready to fire on all pistons.